The sound of my phone vibrating echoes through the silence of my apartment. The screen lights up with a message from Tommy, "Everything's ready. Just need your signature, and it's done." Tonight's the night. I freeze, gripping the edge of my coffee cup. My stomach tightens. That's when I hear it, the call I've been dreading. "Mom." I hesitate before answering. "Sweetheart, we're all waiting for you. Your father and I are at the bank. It's time, honey. You know what to do." Her voice sounds like she's reading from a script. Too calm. Too rehearsed. I stare at the glowing message. Everything's ready. I've been here before. The warm dinners, the forced smiles. Tonight's dinner isn't just another family gathering, it's a trap. A carefully planned ambush. I try to breathe. My fingers hover over the phone, my mind spinning with thoughts of what this really means. Is this it? Is this how far they'll go? I look around my apartment, at the life I built for myself, and I feel a pang of guilt. How did I get here? One step too far into their world, one mistake at a time. But I know one thing for sure, I'm done being the backup plan. Tonight, everything changes. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt dismissed, betrayed, or made to feel invisible, or maybe you've experienced the deepest loneliness, that unbearable pain of losing those you love most, share it. Leave a comment, tell me where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe, because maybe the next story will remind you of your own strength. The familiar smell of roasted chicken hits me as soon as I step inside my parents' house. It's the same scent that used to comfort me, remind me of family dinners I'd rush home for as a child. But tonight? It's suffocating. Everything feels off. I slip my shoes off at the door and take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Dad is already at the table, the soft golden glow of the chandelier casting long shadows on his face. His glasses glint as he sips his wine, eyes darting toward Mom, who's frantically setting the table, adjusting each fork and knife with an almost obsessive precision. "Sarah, darling, you're just in time." Mom smiles, but it's too wide, too perfect. Her voice high-pitched, a little too cheery for someone who just woke up from a nap. "Yeah, don't worry," Tommy mutters, tapping away at his phone, his fingers moving like he's in a rush. "We're all good." Mason, my 8-year-old nephew, is already seated, his small hands neatly cutting his food into perfect little squares, his brow furrowed in concentration. He looks up and gives me a half-hearted wave. "Hi, Aunt Sarah," he mumbles, his voice small, not fully aware of the storm brewing in the room. Mom places a steaming bowl of mashed potatoes on the table. "More, April?" she asks, her eyes flashing briefly to Dad. His jaw tightens as he sets his glass down. I meet Dad's gaze, and there's a silent tension between us, an understanding that this moment, this dinner, isn't as innocent as it appears. "I'm good," I say, reaching for my glass of wine, hoping the alcohol will dull the edge of my nerves. The table falls quiet as Mom heaps a second serving of potatoes onto Tommy's plate, not even waiting for him to respond. I can see he barely notices, his eyes glued to his phone. Mom tries to engage, but I can tell it's forced. "Isn't it nice? All of us together on a Tuesday," she says, her words lingering in the air, almost too loud. I look down at my plate, my fingers tightening around my glass. My heart races. I know something is about to shift. There's an undercurrent in her words. This wasn't just a random Tuesday night dinner. The china plates. The fine wine. The sudden change in tone, it's all too planned. The silence hangs heavy until Dad breaks it, his voice low, his usual calm veneer slipping just a fraction. "Sarah, we need to discuss something important about Mason's future." I feel the weight of his words, and before I can react, Dad slides a thick document across the table toward me. The letters are crisp, the paper weight too official. My fingers freeze as I glance at the top, bank loan agreement. A rush of cold washes over me. My stomach tightens as I read the first few lines, $50,000 college fund loan for Mason. A co-signature needed. Tommy, I say quietly, my voice barely above a whisper, you didn't tell me about this. He looks up from his phone for the first time, offering a tight-lipped smile. It's just a formality, Sarah. The bank needs a second signature. Someone with solid credit. You've got that now, right? My skin prickles as I scan the document further. My name already typed in the co-signer field, waiting for me to confirm their plan. Mom reaches across the table, gently squeezing my hand. Her eyes well up with practiced tears. Family helps family, Sarah. You know that. I'm paralyzed. I can feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on me, but something in my chest tightens. The realization blooms, this wasn't a spontaneous family gathering. It wasn't a moment of kindness. I glance over at Mason, completely unaware of the game being played. The naive innocence in his eyes stabs me with guilt. I feel the pressure building in my chest, my fingers tightening around the wine glass, but I can't bring myself to say anything. They've been planning this for weeks. The familiar smell of roasted chicken hits me as soon as I step inside my parents' house. It's the same scent that used to comfort me, remind me of family dinners I'd rush home for as a child. But tonight? It's suffocating. Everything feels off. I slip my shoes off at the door and take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Dad is already at the table, the soft golden glow of the chandelier casting long shadows on his face. His glasses glint as he sips his wine, eyes darting toward Mom, who's frantically setting the table, adjusting each fork and knife with an almost obsessive precision. Sarah, darling, you're just in time. Mom smiles, but it's too wide, too perfect. Her voice high-pitched, a little too cheery for someone who just woke up from a nap. Yeah, don't worry, Tommy mutters, tapping away at his phone, his fingers moving like he's in a rush. We're all good. Mason, my 8-year-old nephew, is already seated, his small hands neatly cutting his food into perfect little squares, his brow furrowed in concentration. He looks up and gives me a half-hearted wave. Hi, Aunt Sarah, he mumbles, his voice small, not fully aware of the storm brewing in the room. Mom places a steaming bowl of mashed potatoes on the table. More, April? She asks, her eyes flashing briefly to Dad. His jaw tightens as he sets his glass down. I meet Dad's gaze, and there's a silent tension between us, an understanding that this moment, this dinner, isn't as innocent as it appears. I'm good, I say, reaching for my glass of wine, hoping the alcohol will dull the edge of my nerves. The table falls quiet as Mom heaps a second serving of potatoes onto Tommy's plate, not even waiting for him to respond. I can see he barely notices, his eyes glued to his phone. Mom tries to engage, but I can tell it's forced. Isn't it nice? All of us together on a Tuesday, she says, her words lingering in the air, almost too loud. I look down at my plate, my fingers tightening around my glass. My heart races. I know something is about to shift. There's an undercurrent in her words. This wasn't just a random Tuesday night dinner. The china plates. The fine wine. The sudden change in tone, it's all too planned. The silence hangs heavy until Dad breaks it, his voice low, his usual calm veneer slipping just a fraction. Sarah, we need to discuss something important about Mason's future. I feel the weight of his words, and before I can react, Dad slides a thick document across the table toward me. The letters are crisp, the paper weight too official. My fingers freeze as I glance at the top, bank loan agreement. A rush of cold washes over me. My stomach tightens as I read the first few lines, $50,000 college fund loan for Mason. A co-signature needed. Tommy, I say quietly, my voice barely above a whisper, "You didn't tell me about this." He looks up from his phone for the first time, offering a tight-lipped smile. "It's just a formality, Sarah. The bank needs a second signature. Someone with solid credit. You've got that now, right?" My skin prickles as I scan the document further. My name already typed in the co-signer field, waiting for me to confirm their plan. Mom reaches across the table, gently squeezing my hand. Her eyes well up with practiced tears. "Family helps family, Sarah. You know that." I'm paralyzed. I can feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on me, but something in my chest tightens. The realization blooms, this wasn't a spontaneous family gathering. It wasn't a moment of kindness. I glance over at Mason, completely unaware of the game being played. The naive innocence in his eyes stabs me with guilt. I feel the pressure building in my chest, my fingers tightening around the wine glass, but I can't bring myself to say anything. They've been planning this for weeks. The silence lingers for a few moments after I stand up from the table. The tension is thick, suffocating, and for a moment, it feels like the entire house is holding its breath. Mom's hand is still on the document, her fingers trembling ever so slightly as she tries to hide the pressure mounting behind her eyes. "Sarah, sweetie," Mom says again, this time softer, her voice dripping with honeyed insistence. "You know your father and I have done everything we can to help you get to where you are. We only want the best for you, for all of us." Her words ring hollow in my ears. The more she talks, the more I can feel the pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. Dad is staring at me, his expression as unreadable as stone, but I can feel the weight of his gaze. And then, the unmistakable flicker of understanding hits me. It's not just about the loan for Mason. It never was. This isn't a simple favor, they're asking me to secure their future, not his. Tommy, still glued to his phone, shifts in his seat. I notice for the first time that his posture is tense, his movements sharp and impatient. He hasn't said a word to defend this loan or explain why I need to sign. He's just waiting for me to fall in line. Then I see it. The telltale sign I've been waiting for. Mom is silently urging me to look at the bottom of the page where my name is already typed in as the co-signer. I can feel the coldness in my fingertips as I trace the document with my eyes, and suddenly, it's all so clear. They're not asking for help. They're demanding it. And it's not just about Mason's future, it's about Tommy's continued irresponsibility. I take a step back from the table, my heart pounding in my chest. I can feel the weight of the words I can't say, because if I do, I'll finally have to acknowledge that I'm nothing more than their fallback plan, their backup. They know they've failed me. They know that I've worked for everything I have. But now, they're leveraging Mason's future to pull me back into their orbit, to make me sacrifice again. They think they can manipulate me with guilt and the family first mantra. I look at Tommy again, still not looking up from his phone, his thumbs tapping in rhythmic frustration. He doesn't need to speak. His silence is the answer. They've been waiting for this moment for weeks. But why now? Why make this grand gesture of a dinner? Why the special dishes, the fancy setting, the wine that's been poured a little too generously? This is more than just a simple request. It's orchestrated. I glance at the document one last time. The words are sharp, but it's the final line that sends a cold chill down my spine. Your signature is required to proceed with the loan. No mention of Tommy's responsibility. No mention of the fact that this debt will fall entirely on me if things go wrong. Just my name, my responsibility. I take a deep breath, feeling the sharpness of the moment. Mom watches me, her eyes wide with feigned innocence. She's not as subtle as she thinks she is. Dad has retreated into his silence, but I see the flicker of expectation in his eyes. It's the same look he always gave me when I was a child, when I disappointed him by not doing what was expected. I can't be their scapegoat anymore. The room is silent. I can feel their eyes on me, Dad's, Mom's, and even Tommy's, though he's still staring at his phone, barely acknowledging my words. But I know they heard me. I know Mom and Dad are waiting for me to cave, for me to apologize, for me to do what I've always done, give in. But something in me shifts, and as I stand there, my legs shaky but determined, memories flood my mind. It's like I'm back in that break room at Palmer's Pharmacy, my teenage self counting pills into bottles while the other kids were at football games, living their carefree lives. Mom never came to my science competitions, never cheered me on when I aced an exam, or when I spent sleepless nights studying for the AP tests. But Tommy had everything. Football games. Custom sweatshirts with his name on them. Front row seats to his every game. The cheers. The accolades. Everything I wanted, but never received. I think about the college acceptance letter I received, the one that changed my life. I remember the moment I held it in my hands, my heart pounding with excitement. I wanted to run down the stairs, to share the news with Mom and Dad, to show them what I had accomplished all on my own. But Mom's reaction was nothing like I expected. "That's nice, dear," she said, distracted by the meal she was preparing. "Could you set the table for dinner?" There was no celebration, no fanfare. My success was overlooked, just like all the other little moments in my life. Tommy's first car, the graduation party thrown in his honor, the endless praise he received, it was as if he was their golden child. I was never enough. Even when I left for college, I never asked for their help. I paid my way through school with scholarships and part-time jobs. I lived off the bare minimum. I took on $60,000 in student loans, but there were no cosigners, no safety nets. I did it all myself. The day I graduated and earned that diploma, I celebrated with a single cupcake from the local bakery. It wasn't a party, it wasn't a grand send-off. It was just me, by myself, because that's how it had always been. Tommy's college send-off, on the other hand, was an extravagant affair. 50 people. Custom decorations. Mom crying as she waved him off. They threw him a celebration fit for a king. And what about me? The daughter who had done everything for herself. I was told to set the table. I stand there now, shaking my head as the memories churn in my chest like a storm. Tommy never had to struggle the way I did. Mom never had to ask Dad for anything when it came to Tommy. He was the first priority, the one they poured everything into. But not me. And that's when it hits me, they never saw me. All those years of effort, all those sacrifices, and they never even noticed. They treated me like a placeholder, a backup plan. The guilt stirs within me as I look over at Tommy, sitting there without a care in the world. He's scrolling through his phone, oblivious to everything around him, to the years of resentment bubbling inside me. And yet, Dad still expects me to fix things. He expects me to sign away my future, just like I've done for so many years. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. This time, it's different. I was never a backup plan. Not for Tommy. Not for anyone. The tension at the table crackles like static. I feel the eyes of my family, heavy and expectant, waiting for me to cave. Tommy's eyes flicker up from his phone for a brief moment, just long enough for him to see the storm brewing in my eyes. His lips curl into something between a smile and a smirk, but it's the kind of smile you give someone when you know they're about to do something they'll regret. He thinks he's won already. But not this time. My heart pounds in my chest, but I force myself to breathe deeply. The words are stuck in my throat, but I push them out, my voice louder than I expect. I'm not signing this. Mom's hand freezes over the document, her face pale with shock. It's the first time I've ever seen her look this vulnerable, like she wasn't prepared for the possibility that I wouldn't play along. Dad shifts in his seat, his jaw tightening, but still, he says nothing. He just watches me, calculating. I can feel the walls closing in, the weight of their expectations pressing against my chest, but something inside me snaps. It's the familiar voice in the back of my mind, the one that's been quiet for so long. The one I've ignored for years. You are not their backup plan. I glance at Tommy again, still staring at his phone, oblivious to the quiet war raging at the table. Mason is now busy with his food again, blissfully unaware of the emotional chaos unfolding around him. He looks so innocent, so unaware of the pressure that's being placed on me, the weight of their plans for my life. I wish I could stay in that innocence, just for a moment, but I know I can't. I've worked my whole life for everything I have, I say, the words almost spitting out of my mouth. I didn't have a safety net like Tommy. I didn't have anyone to bail me out when things got tough. And I'm not going to start now. Not for you. Not for him. Mom flinches at the sharpness in my voice. Dad doesn't flinch at all, but I see the subtle tightening of his shoulders. He doesn't like this. He's always believed I'd be the one to pick up the pieces, the one who would help, no matter the cost. But I'm not that person anymore. Don't do this, Sarah, Mom whispers, her voice cracking. Family helps family. You've always known that. I swallow hard, trying to ignore the tears welling up in her eyes, trying to block out the guilt she's trying to throw on me. The guilt that's always been there, hovering over every decision I've ever made. No, Mom, I say firmly, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. Family doesn't control you. It doesn't hold you hostage. I am not your backup plan. I am not anyone's safety net. I've had enough of living under that pressure. I stand up from the table, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. It feels like the sound reverberates through the room, through the walls, through everything. This is my moment. My one chance to break free from their control. Dad stands up too, his hand slamming on the table with a force that makes me flinch. You'll regret this, Sarah, he warns, his voice low and cold. You're abandoning your family when we need you the most. This isn't just about a loan, it's about the future. I turn to face him, my back straight, my eyes locked onto his. I'm not abandoning anyone, I say, every word calculated, deliberate. You've always asked me to give up my future for you, for Tommy, for everyone. But I can't do that anymore. I won't. For a long moment, there's nothing but silence. The kind of silence that feels thick, like the air before a storm. Tommy looks up again, his face hardening, the smirk disappearing. Mom wipes her eyes, but I can see the frustration and helplessness in her face. Dad doesn't say another word. I glance at Mason, still clueless. I can't help but feel a pang of sadness for him, for the way he'll grow up with the same expectations weighing on him. I wonder if he'll have to carry the same burdens I did. I hope he won't. I take a deep breath. I'm done. I don't look back at them. Instead, I walk toward the door, my hands shaking but my resolve stronger than ever. The next morning, I wake up to a buzzing phone screen, and as soon as I glance at it, my stomach tightens. There are dozens of missed calls. Tommy, Mom, and even Dad have all tried to reach me. I sit up in bed, staring at the phone as the messages flood in. Where are you? Sarah, please call me. Your father is really upset, Sarah. You're breaking his heart. Please, come back. We need to talk. The words, the guilt, the pressure, they hit me like a wave, but something in me hardens. I can't go back to that place, to that family dynamic. I know what they're trying to do, they're trying to wear me down. But this time, it's different. I can feel it deep inside. An hour later, I get a text from Mom. We're having a family meeting tonight. You need to be here, Sarah. You can't avoid this. It's clear. They're escalating. They want to corner me, force me to see reason. I know the drill. It's the same pattern they've used for years: guilt, manipulation, and pressure. Dad will sit there in silence, waiting for me to agree. Tommy will act like the victim, and Mom will pull the emotional strings, as usual. But I'm not backing down. I take a deep breath and reply with a single word. No. But within minutes, I receive a response from Dad. His message is different from Mom's. It's direct, almost calculated. This is about Mason's future. If you love this family, you'll be here. You have a responsibility to your nephew. I feel the cold weight of his words sink into my chest. It's always about responsibility, always about duty. Never about me. I know Dad has always used this line: family comes first, to manipulate us into doing what's expected, to make us feel obligated to sacrifice for the greater good. I toss my phone aside and stand up, pacing my small apartment. My hands are shaking, but not from fear. I'm angry. I'm angry because, once again, they're treating me like an obligation, not a person. I've spent my entire life putting their needs before mine, trying to keep the peace, trying to please them. But I can't do it anymore. I need to leave. I need to get out of this house, away from their suffocating grip. They want to control me, to push me into a corner until I sign away my future, just like they've done my whole life. But I can't stay silent anymore. I won't. The day drags on, but I refuse to let their messages or calls distract me. I've made up my mind. I'm not going to this meeting. I'm not going to let them continue to treat me like a pawn in their game. But as the clock ticks closer to the evening, I can feel the pressure mounting. I know what's coming. When the sun sets, there's a knock at my door. My heart skips a beat. I open it, and standing there is Tommy, his face flushed, eyes hard. "I'm not here to argue," he says quickly, stepping past me into the apartment before I can respond. "Mom and Dad are losing it, Sarah. You need to come back. You need to fix this. Mason needs this loan. Don't do this to him. Don't do this to the family." I can feel my blood boiling. The audacity. He's not even pretending to care about me anymore. It's all about getting me to sign that damn paper, no matter what it costs. "No, Tommy," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm not coming back. You don't get to guilt-trip me anymore." His face darkens. "You don't understand. They're already planning to go to the bank without you. You're making this worse. Just sign, and everything will go back to normal." "I'm done with normal," I reply, my words sharp, cutting through the tension in the room. This isn't normal. This isn't family. It's manipulation. And I'm not playing along anymore. Tommy shakes his head in disbelief. "You think you're the only one who's been screwed over. You think this is easy for any of us. But you don't get to just walk away from this, Sarah. It's not that simple." I feel a wave of frustration rise within me, but I don't let it overtake me. I've made my decision. I am done being the fallback. I am done being their solution. "I'm not playing your game anymore," I say firmly, my voice unyielding. "You don't get to control me, Tommy. I'm out." He opens his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. "Go back to Mom and Dad. Tell them I'm done. I'll never be their backup plan again." With that, I walk past him, toward the door. I open it and stand aside, waiting for him to leave. He glares at me one last time, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and confusion, before he storms out, slamming the door behind him. The night after Tommy's visit, I can't shake the unease gnawing at me. My phone is silent for once, and I'm left with nothing but my own thoughts I can't escape. Tommy's words replay over and over in my mind, but it's something else that keeps pulling at me. Something doesn't add up, and I can feel it deep in my gut. I lean back in my chair, staring out the window at the city lights below. The view from my apartment always used to give me peace, but tonight, it feels like I'm looking at a stranger's life, not my own. Everything I've built, everything I've worked for, feels fragile, like it could crumble with one wrong decision. My fingers twitch as I reach for my laptop. I can't stop myself. I need answers. I pull up my bank account, the one that's been a lifeline for me since I moved to San Francisco. I've been meticulous about my finances, always careful, always tracking every dollar. I open the transactions and scroll through the past month. Everything seems normal until I see a strange login from 2 nights ago. It's subtle, buried under a pile of routine payments and transfers. But the timestamp catches my eye, 6:42 p.m., Tuesday. The same night as the dinner. The same night Tommy and Mom tried to force me into signing the loan papers. I sit up straighter, my heart racing. My mind whirls as I try to make sense of it. Who could have accessed my account? The IP address listed is from somewhere I don't recognize. Someone was in my account while I was at dinner with my family. A cold sweat breaks out across my forehead. I close the browser window and grab my phone, my hands trembling as I scroll through my contacts. I don't know who I'm looking for, but I need to know if there's a way to trace this. My fingers hover over a name I've rarely contacted, Sylvia, from accounting. She's the only one I trust enough to ask about anything related to security. I hit dial. Hello? Sylvia's voice is groggy, clearly caught off guard by my call. Sylvia, it's Sarah Donovan, I say, trying to keep my voice steady, though my heart is hammering in my chest. Quick question, does Kathy Moore's daughter still work in IT? There's a pause on the other end. I can hear the faint sound of a chair scraping against wood as Sylvia shifts in her seat. Lisa. Yeah, she's still there, but what's this about? I just need to know, I say quickly, not wanting to give too much away. I'm seeing some suspicious activity in my account, and I need to know if anyone from the company accessed it recently. There's a long silence. I can look into it for you, Sylvia says, her voice now serious. But, Sarah, you know I can't give you that kind of information without a proper request, right? Why don't you just report it to security? No, just check if Lisa was involved. Please, I insist, my voice shaking despite myself. It's really important. Okay. Let me check and get back to you. Just don't go telling people I'm helping you out, okay? Of course, I whisper, hanging up. I sit in the dark for what feels like hours, staring at the screen, waiting for Sylvia's response. But when my phone buzzes a few minutes later, it's not her. It's something much worse. An email from my bank. I open it slowly, my fingers stiff with dread. Your account access has been confirmed from an unauthorized IP address. Please review your recent activity. We have blocked further access until you confirm the legitimacy of these actions. The blood drains from my face. The email goes on to detail the exact date and time, the night of the dinner. I scroll down, barely registering the words as I skim the message. Then, it clicks. The bank had flagged it, but it was already too late. Whoever accessed my account knew exactly what they were doing. They were waiting for that precise moment. I feel the ground shift beneath me. This wasn't just about the loan. This was premeditated. They'd been planning this, watching me, waiting for me to be vulnerable. To be distracted. To sign away everything I've worked for. I need to know more. I need to figure out how deep this goes. The room feels too small as I sit in front of my laptop, the screen casting a cold light over my face. The email from the bank haunts me. The words are like a weight pressing on my chest, suffocating me. I've been manipulated, watched, used, and now I can't unsee the truth. The thought of going back to Santa Clara, facing my family, makes my stomach turn. I can already hear Dad's voice, calm and commanding, telling me it's my responsibility. I can see Mom's eyes, full of fake tears, pleading with me to do the right thing. And Tommy, always so sure of himself, thinking that I'll come running to fix his mistakes. But I'm done. The thought of signing that loan, of putting my future on the line to fix the mistakes they've made, makes me sick to my stomach. Every inch of my body is screaming no, but the guilt claws at me. It's all I've known, being the one they rely on, the one who takes the fall for everyone else. I've spent my life trying to please them, trying to make them proud, and every time I do, they take more. They take until there's nothing left of me. I think about all the times I gave in, all the years I sacrificed my happiness, my dreams, for a family that never truly saw me. I remember the lonely nights spent studying for exams, the summers the first worked through while Tommy went to football games, the moments I was left in the shadows of his success. No more. I've spent too long in this cycle of giving and never receiving. It's time for me to choose myself. To stop being the one they run to when they need a solution. The phone buzzes on the table, another text from Mom, another call from Tommy. But this time, I don't pick up. I don't respond. I stand up, my legs shaking but my resolve firm. I've made my decision. I walk to the window, looking out at the skyline, the vast ocean beyond. This is my life. I will no longer let them take it from me. The next morning, the quiet I've been savoring is shattered by the relentless buzzing of my phone. Tommy's name lights up the screen again, and then Mom and Dad. They've all been trying to reach me for hours. I ignore the notifications, my stomach tightening with every ping. The weight of their words, their expectations, still hangs over me like a dark cloud. I know they won't let this go. They'll push, they'll manipulate, they'll twist everything to make me feel like the villain in my own story. But I've already made up my mind. I will not bend. I will not be their scapegoat anymore. But the silence doesn't last long. A few hours later, my doorbell rings. The sound is sharp, urgent. My pulse quickens. I glance through the peephole, and there he is, Dad. His figure fills the frame, rigid and imposing. My heart sinks. I don't want to open that door. I don't want to face them. But the ringing doesn't stop. He's not leaving. I open the door, and he steps in without waiting for an invitation. His face is tight, his jaw clenched. Sarah, he begins, his voice cold, as though he's trying to remain composed. We need to talk. I cross my arms, standing my ground. About what, Dad? About how you expect me to sign away my future. How you've been using me for years to fix your mistakes. He flinches, but doesn't back down. This isn't just about you, Sarah. This is about the family. Mason's future. You're letting your pride get in the way of doing what's right. His words cut deep, but I stand tall, my gaze unwavering. It's not pride, Dad. It's self-respect. You taught me to work hard, to stand on my own. I've done that. I've built my life, and I'm not going to throw it all away for a loan that isn't mine to fix. He sighs, running a hand through his hair in frustration. You're tearing this family apart, Sarah. Do you really want that? Do you want to be the one who's responsible for breaking us? The guilt starts to creep in, just like I knew it would. It's the same guilt they've used on me for years, the guilt that makes me feel like I'm betraying them, like I'm failing them. But this time, I won't let it take hold. I'm not breaking the family. You are, I say, my voice steady but firm. You're the ones who've made me feel like I'm always second place. You're the ones who've made me feel like I have to sacrifice everything for you. I'm not doing it anymore. His expression softens, but it's only for a moment. This is your choice, Sarah. Just remember, you don't get to walk away from this. You don't get to turn your back on us. We're your family. The words sting, but they're nothing new. I've heard them all before. This time, I'm not swayed. I'm not going to let them guilt-trip me into submission. Dad stands there, his disappointment heavy in the air, but I don't flinch. I've made my decision. It's a hard one, but it's mine. As he turns and walks out the door, I feel something shift inside me. The guilt fades, replaced by the quiet weight of freedom. It's not easy, and I know the battle is far from over. But for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm finally choosing me. The days blur together, each one heavier than the last. Despite my resolve, I feel the pressure creeping in from every angle. Mom's constant texts. Tommy's angry calls. Even Dad tried to show up at my work, demanding to speak to me. The weight of their expectations presses on me like a vice, but every time I feel like I might cave, I remember the look on Tommy's face when I told him I wouldn't be their backup anymore. I remember the calm, unflinching certainty in my own voice when I said I would no longer play the part they assigned me in their little family drama. But the emotional toll is real. The guilt gnaws at me, a constant ache in my chest. I keep thinking about Mason, about the little boy caught in the middle of a game I never wanted to be a part of. I tell myself it's not about him, that his future isn't my responsibility. But the thought of him growing up with the same expectations, the same manipulation, twists something inside me. Still, I know I can't go back. I can't keep allowing myself to be the sacrificial lamb. Tommy, Mom, and Dad will always pull me back into their chaos if I let them. I've spent my entire life doing what was expected of me, putting them first, putting myself last. But I'm done. I walk through my apartment one last time, running my fingers over the furniture that's seen me through the hardest moments of my life, the nights spent crying over exams, the quiet mornings spent chasing dreams when it felt like no one cared. But now, I'm chasing freedom. I've made my decision. It's time to leave. The thought of walking away from everything I've ever known, from the family who's shaped every part of my identity, terrifies me. I don't know what's waiting for me in San Francisco, but for the first time, I feel the weight lift off my shoulders. I'm not abandoning them, I'm choosing me. And that feels like the only way forward. I pack my bags slowly, carefully, each item a reminder of the life I'm leaving behind. I know I'll miss certain things, the quiet moments with Mason, the comfort of the familiar. But I also know that I'll never have peace if I stay trapped in this cycle. As I load the last of my things into my car, I take one last look at the house I've known all my life. I don't look back. I don't need to. I'm driving toward a new life now, one where I'm in control. One where I make the decisions. And for the first time in years, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time, hope. The highway stretches out before me, the endless road a symbol of the future I've stepped into. The San Francisco skyline comes into view as I approach the city, and I feel a wave of calm wash over me. The car hums steadily beneath me, the air in the car cool and fresh, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I breathe deeply. I feel a weight lifting off my chest, the pressure of expectations fading with every mile I put between myself and Santa Clara. I think about the family I left behind. The dinner, the constant pressure, the demands that were always there, but I couldn't carry anymore. I think about Mason, and the guilt still lingers at the back of my mind, but it's different now. I didn't abandon him. I gave him the space to build his own future, free from the chains of family obligations. Free from the pattern of always being the one to save them. As I pull into my new apartment complex, I feel a rush of exhilaration and fear. San Francisco is so different from home, but it feels like a fresh start. A new chapter. I look at the small apartment I'm renting, the city lights glowing in the distance, and I feel something that's been missing for years, peace. Unpacking the last of my things, I realize how much of myself I've left behind, trying to please everyone else. I'd buried parts of me so deep, trying to fulfill the roles my family had assigned. The responsible one. The sacrificial one. The backup plan. But here, in this small apartment, I can feel those pieces of myself slowly coming back to life. It's not just the physical space that's new. It's the mental space, too. For the first time in years, I'm living for me. I'm making decisions based on what I want, not based on what others expect from me. And that's the lesson I've learned. Freedom is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. It's the choice to stop living for others and start living for yourself. I sit on my bed, the sun setting outside, and a small, contented smile plays on my lips. I've chosen myself. And for the first time in my life, it feels like the right choice. I don't need their approval. I don't need their guilt. I just need my own voice, and for once, it's the only one that matters. The days in San Francisco blend together in a quiet rhythm. I wake up to the sound of city life outside my window, the soft hum of traffic and the distant chatter of people starting their day. It's different here, calmer, yet full of possibility. Each morning feels like a new beginning. I've found my own peace, away from the clutches of family expectations, and with it comes a freedom I didn't know I was missing. I start my new job with a sense of purpose, something I hadn't felt in years. It's hard to explain, but there's a lightness in my steps, a feeling like I'm walking into a life I've always deserved. At work, I'm not the family savior. I'm Sarah, just Sarah, and that's enough. It's the first time I've felt truly seen for who I am, not for what others need from me. But even with the peace I've found here, there are moments when the past knocks on the door of my mind. Mom's voice in my head, Dad's disappointed stare, Tommy's persistent calls. It doesn't go away completely, but with time, I've learned to handle it. I know they'll always try to pull me back in, but now, I have something stronger than their guilt, my own resolve. One evening, as I sit on the balcony of my apartment, sipping tea and watching the sun set over the bay, I realize how far I've come. I didn't just escape, I evolved. I chose myself. For the first time, I can breathe freely. I'm no longer weighed down by the fear of disappointing my family. I'm living life on my own terms. And that's when I realize, the most powerful thing I've done isn't walking away from my family. It's walking toward my own happiness, my own life, without asking for permission. But the true lesson here isn't just about me. It's for everyone who has ever been made to feel like they were second place. For anyone who has ever been told they weren't enough, or that their worth depended on how much they could give. You are enough, just as you are. You deserve to choose yourself. So, if you're watching this, and you've ever felt like you were carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, like you were always the one to pick up the pieces for everyone else, I want you to know, you don't have to carry that weight anymore. You have the power to say no. You have the power to choose you. And when you do, you'll find the strength to live the life you've always dreamed of.